This video is brought to you by Battlezoo Eldamon, coming soon to Kickstarter. This expansion to Pathfinder 2nd Edition and D&D 5e is a Pokemon-style rule set that includes two new classes, Eldamon Trainer and Elemental Avatar. Join the Kickstarter campaign for Battlezoo Eldamon today. Hey everybody, Dave here with another Pathfinder rule reminder for you, and today's topic is returning from the dead. So how can a player who has unfortunately succumbed to the dangers of combat and adventuring, who has died, return to the game? So the first two ways of coming back from the dead are going to be rituals. So the first of those is going to be reincarnate. Reincarnate is a way to bring a spirit back when you don't have an entire body. So you do need to have some small portion of the original body. The book does not really say what a small portion is. You know, it's going to be up to the GM to decide if that means a finger or an entire hand or what have you, but you have to have some portion of the original body. And the ritual itself takes 4 hours. And when you complete the ritual, the spirit can be returned to a new body. So the ritual itself for reincarnate creates a new body. And that new body is going to be randomly selected, or I believe GMs are free to select a particular ancestry for whatever meets their story needs. But that's the idea. You're not returning to your original body, you're going to get a new body that is typically going to be a randomly determined ancestry, so may not be exactly what you're expecting. Reincarnate is a 3rd level ritual and can be used at that base 3rd level to return life to creatures that are 8th level or lower. It also is an uncommon ritual, and so therefore is not a ritual you can just go into a store and buy. It should be awarded as a piece of questing awards, or perhaps if you're going to buy it, it's going to be purchased from some sort of organization that has close ties to life and death. A Church of Pharasma, for example, would be a likely place, and GM willing, they could also provide you the service at a cost of to cast the reincarnate ritual for you as a 3rd level ritual that's going to require 5th level characters or a 5th level settlement. And although that ritual is a 3rd level ritual and it works for characters who are 8th level or lower, as it gets heightened, it will increase its level but also increase the level of the creatures that is able to reincarnate. The second ritual worth mentioning is Resurrect. Resurrect works very much the same way as Reincarnate, except you're not creating a new body, you are returning life to their previous body when they passed. This is going to require an intact body, or a mostly intact body, that has not been dead for more than 1 year. The ritual itself is going to take a complete 1 full day in order to cast, and it has a base level of a 5th level ritual that can return creatures to life that are 10th level or lower. And just like with a reincarnate, as the characters get higher level and the ritual gets higher level, it can return back to life deceased characters of a higher level progressively according to the table found in that ritual. The third option I want to talk about is the Raise Dead spell. This works very similar to the Resurrect ritual in that it's not creating a new body like Reincarnate does. It's returning life to their previous body, but this is not a ritual, so it's not based on skill checks. It's based on using a spell slot. In this case, it's got to be 6th level or higher in order to raise dead. Now, this is only going to take you 10 minutes as opposed to 4 hours or an entire day to cast like the rituals we discussed. So it has the benefit in that it can be cast while you're out adventuring. You don't have to take 4 hours or a full day to cast the rituals that were previously discussed. As long as you've got the spell slot and you know the spell and you have the requisite number of diamonds to fuel it, then you can return a party member to life right then and there with only 10 minutes of casting. At its base level, it can return to life creatures of 13th level or lower, and again, as it is heightened, just like their rituals, it can increase the level of the creature that can be returned to life with an increased cost associated with it. The next option I want to talk about is Resuscitate, which is not a ritual, it's not a magical spell. Instead, it is a feat available to the medic archetype that allows the character to basically perform CPR on a character who has, quote, died within the last 3 rounds and resuscitate them, bring them back to life. So this is one of the few ways that might be an option in the middle of a combat. It takes 3 actions to perform this, and it is a pretty high level feat, but it is going to be one of the few non-magical, non-ritual options available. But again, you got to be a member of the medic archetype to have access to it. Now, one of the things I want to add to this is that most of these spells and rituals have very exorbitant high material costs. It costs a lot of money in ritual components and diamonds and so forth in order to bring a character back to life. So I would encourage GMs, if you have characters, if you have players who have a dead party member and they want to bring them back to life, but it's cost prohibitive, then work it out as a quest. Maybe they come to a Church of Pharasma, they don't have the money, but the Church of Pharasma is willing to provide this service to revive their dead party member if they complete a certain quest for them. And then you just deduct the cost of the materials for the ritual or the spell casting from the rewards that would be granted to the party for completing said quest. So there are some ways to work around those costs, and this could be a great story opportunity as well. And another thing to think about is sometimes when you're playing with life and death and people are crossing the threshold into death and then back into life, things happen, right? Things may not go as expected. So as a GM, if you feel like you want to insert a new element to the story, or maybe a skill check is failed by a little bit, but you still want to give them a success on those rituals and let the person come back, or negate some of the cost in favor of a less reliable method of returning a person from the dead, then there's some things you might want to consider. First of those is the Dusk Walker versatile archetype. Maybe it works, maybe they come back, but they're now Dusk Walkers. Also consider who is it that's providing this service, who's conducting these rituals to return a person back to life. Maybe it's a mad scientist, maybe it is a crazy alchemist and their assistants who are conducting the Resurrect ritual or the Raise Dead ritual. How might that flavor influence the result of the resurrection? Maybe it works at a reduced cost, but the character who comes back to life is now a flesh warp ancestry character, as opposed to what they were in their previous life. That would work especially well with the Resurrect ritual, where you're not expecting their original body to return. And last, the Book of the Dead has a number of different options for characters who die to come back as undead playable characters. So if that character, that player, died because of ghoul fever, maybe they come back as a ghoul and you give them the ghoul archetype. If they died and they had unfinished business in life and they just can't cross over to the other side, maybe the GM allows them to come back with the ghost archetype. So that's it for today, a handful of different ways for characters who have died to come back to the living and continue their adventures. If you have any questions or any thoughts you'd like to add to this conversation, please leave those in the comments. I'll make sure to leave links in the description of this video to any of my other videos that touch on this topic. And as always, I want to take a quick moment to say thank you to everybody out there who supports me, especially those of you who are kind enough to leave your well wishes and your get well soons on my previous video about virulent afflictions. And thank you very much for everything you folks do to support me. With that, thanks for watching, take care, and happy gaming.